Hey guys, David here and welcome to the Fit Pro Daily. This week is all about the ups and downs of running a successful fitness business. And there was no better way to start than inviting Sam Beagle on to give us an insight into how long it's taken him to finally get his very first studio and to give us an insight into some of the stuff that went well, that didn't go well, and things that he had to work on. Anyway, before we do dive into today's guest interview, if you haven't already joined us inside our free Facebook group, head over to Facebook, search for Fit Pro Lead Gen with Dave, request to join and get access to even more guest interviews, downloads, guides, and so much more. Anyway, let's dive into this week's guest interview. Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to today's Fit Pro Daily Show. Today we've got another guest interview. We have Sam, all the way in Norfolk. Is that what you said, Sam?
Northwood.
Northwood. And how is everything with you? Because I'm actually in DK9 Fitness today, and this morning it was like -1 when I got here.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
probably
it's
the
pretty cool.
same now, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm lucky in Northwood here. I have underfloor heating, and the rates are ridiculously cheap. So it costs me about £100 a year to have heating on, and I can have it on all the time. But
We've got radiators, coats, hoodies, thermal jumper, hats.
yeah,
everything
exactly right. So this is like 350 square feet, so it's a lot smaller. The one in Windsor, which is 3,000 square feet, is a warehouse, probably similar to yourself, where it's freezing, right? And when you're holding the bar, you get stuck to the bar. If you know what I mean? You have to put your hands up.
And then the summer
So,
month comes and it's too hot. Yeah, it's like, oh, we can't win.
yeah, exactly. You look into heating, but you think like 3 or 4 months, like is it really the investment? Is it worth it? Right? You're there for 5, 6 years, maybe longer, depending on the lease. So as you say, right, this summertime you can never win, winter time you can never win.
Nice. Okay, so today, for everyone that's kind of watching or tuning in or see the title, we're going to talk a little bit about opening the studios, opening your gym, and kind of just learning a little bit more about how to really succeed. But so everyone has kind of an understanding, how did you kind of become a fit pro and how did you kind of get into your studio where you are now then?
Yeah, so it's been a long story. I'll kind of sum up in a short summary. But I opened up a studio in 2013. So going back a number of years ago, almost 10 years ago, I was like a professional football before that.
Yeah.
And I went semi-professional, enjoyed the gym. So took like the six-week course from the training room, became a PT. Within 18 months, was pretty successful in terms of having like a large amount of clients. I guess that's what you measure success on, right? And the amount of hours you're doing. And so I left David Lloyd where I was for like a year. And yeah, set my own kind of studio up in Slough. So it probably took me from leaving David Lloyd maybe like another year before I had like enough members to move into the studio, knowing that I'd still be in profit. 2013 to 2016, I was in a studio just under 2,000 square feet. We had about 130, 140 members by the end of the 3 years. So we just tried to renew the lease there. It was really difficult to do, as you know, right? Negotiating leases and that kind of stuff it's not easy to do. And there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of communication. Just couldn't do it, unfortunately. They wanted us to buy a unit. We wanted to keep leasing it. So I actually stopped for about from 2016 to literally last year.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. So I done one-to-one stuff. I moved away. So whether I was in Slough, basically, it's not like it's quite a corrupt like county, to be fair, or council. So where I was in 2016, the lease ran out of the unit, and what I found out was the local CrossFit had paid the council for me not to open up another D2 facility around the area.
What?
So yeah, for 3 years, and he was open about it. The guy who runs CrossFit was open about it. He said, "Look, you're not going to open up another space around here, right, anytime soon, because I've got a 3-year kind of hold on you, like studio." So that kind of ended in 2019. I tried to open up another unit in Slough. I'd kind of moved out to where I am now, this smaller place in Northwood by that point, to live here basically. So I was quite far away. I'd say like half an hour, 40 minutes away from the Slough facilities to have. And over lockdown, 2019, I was trying to find another unit, and then the council just kept rejecting it basically. And you'd go for licenses, you change the license,
Yeah.
be accepted. The guy who was running the application asked me to basically asked me to pay £15,000 to pass it through, like himself, like under the table, like give me 15 grand and I'll do it for you. And
Wow.
I was just like, there's no chance of doing that. Having spoken to other people that are in the area, just different businesses, not purely fitness, they said, look, he'll ask you every year, all the ends, keep draining money out of you. So yeah, it was a nightmare. So that's 2019. That ended with this like facility I was looking at. Luckily, obviously, I don't know if it's similar to where you are, but the E-class has kind of come about. So with COVID, right? And I've moved to a different borough. So during lockdown, people from the 2013 to 2016 studio were like, hey, Sam, are you thinking about opening up another space? It's been locked down. I need to get back into fitness. Like, what's the deal? And within literally 2 weeks of them messaging me, maybe like 40 people, I'd found a lease, agreed a lease, or found a facility, agreed a lease, and practically was ready to move into like the space in Windsor. Now it's a different council, E-class, a lot easier. You could just move in, right? So yeah, that's where we are today, basically. Now with this place in Northwood and the bigger studio in Windsor.
Yeah. And just so people know, it is extremely difficult to get a change of use. So like when we were in Southampton at that point and we were searching everywhere to get a facility, like either the landlord didn't want to have his facility changed, or the council, or you can go for like a pre kind of application to see if it might get through, and most of them would come back as rejected, or the ones that would be successful, they wanted something like 4 or 5 grand a month rent, and you're just like, yeah, I just can't afford to pay anything like that.
It was ridiculous, right? And it was really hard. At the end of 2016, when the lease finished in that studio, we were really lucky because we agreed that lease in 2013, right? Where I just moved in off myself, and I don't think the landlords had that. They just wanted to lease the unit. They didn't care who we went to.
Yeah.
In 2013. Now people are a bit more streetwise. From 2015 onwards, it became a lot harder, as you mentioned, right? So I have a spreadsheet from looking at facilities in 2015, knowing my lease was ending. For 2021, I have over 350 units I was looking at, like around the area. A full spreadsheet of like going to places, calling them up, arranging a viewing. Can I make it? Will it work? And as you say, pretty much 350 were rejected. And a lot of it is to do like with the noise they reckon you'll generate, the footfall, the traffic you'll have, the car parking, etc.
Yeah.
And that was it. So with the space that we found in 2019, I hired a like a team, right? And like an applicator, application team. So they put together, right, a 26-page dossier of how because I knew it'd be difficult because of knowing that CrossFit had paid for this thing and for me not to have another D2 license. So I knew it'd be difficult to get one anyway. So I paid this team, say like they're £1,000 they were. And to change the license over was like 1,000 or whatever. At that point, I think it's like 1,450 around our area. So we paid this pre-agreement. Hey, will it get accepted? Is it likely to get accepted? They're like, yeah, it'll get accepted. So we had this 26-page dossier we put together. Bus lines, like timetables, like when people leave Slough, the amount of footfall on literally each bus line. Who's taking a bus? How much? Like how often they're taking it? The demographic of that person taking a bus. When people are likely to leave. When we're having people into the studio, we have like in that space there was 55 car parking spaces, and only 2 units were open. One was going to be ours, and another one was HSBC. And so like 55 spaces, that's enough, right? They wanted us to have more. Like then it got rejected, right? This 26-page dossier saying it wasn't detailed enough. And we're thinking, hold on a second. Like then you can go online, right? You can see other change of uses and other applications that have gone through. And they've got like 1 page, like 5 lines. I would like to convert this, and here's how it's going to work. Ours was like full on 26-page, like train lines. It was unbelievable, like what this guy put together. And he got rejected because it wasn't detailed enough. They said, look, put another application in. Put a few more pages in there in terms of, I don't know, like how this 5 p.m. class isn't gonna screw up the T junction at wherever this intersection was. So we're like, is it worth it? So we ended up paying another I ended up paying the applicator another lump sum because like, look, you just need a few more pages. They're like, once you do that, it get accepted. 12 weeks later, it got rejected, and then the guy obviously asked for that £15,000 like to pay him to accept it. But we were like, it was ridiculous because there's a few gyms around the area. An Easy Gym at that point had set up, maybe when we're going through this process, had set up about half a mile away, and this building was basically like run down. And the council said to me, like, we're probably going to like bulldoze it down. But then Easy Gym opened, and like, oh, they're offering us a silly amount of rent for it. We'll just keep open for them. Their application got accepted within like 10 days, and it's just like, hold on a second, like, yeah, it was a very frustrating like period of like almost. You have like 12 weeks for each obviously license, right? So it's a period of like 6 months when obviously telling people that we're going to move into a studio, and then it getting delayed and delayed and delayed. So yeah, ended up leaving that and leaving Slough entirely because it was just never going to work in that area. You know what I mean? Hence why we moved to Windsor, and it seems a little bit more like peaceful, a little bit more calm.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, anybody watching this is kind of what it is a little bit like trying to get that first unit or even the second unit. If you kind of stumble across the wrong council or the wrong owners or nightmare people, it's just going to slow everything down.
It is, because we had obviously history, right, of having a unit. We said, look, here's our unit. We've had it before 3 years. The landlord's obviously been paying on rent, been doing everything. There's been no like issue with traffic in the past, and that was in like a much more densely populated area with businesses and football. So we're thinking like, look, we know we can make it work. I was chatting to Segro, who owned that lease, and Segro owned most of the property in Slough, and so they have a very good connection with Slough Council. And Segro were like, look, just make it work, sort it out. But like, look, I'm telling you, I was calling them up to Segro saying, look, can you talk to the council, because they're not letting us, like, it's not happening, right? And they're like, no, don't be so silly, like, just get it done and we'll approve it for you. Like, Segro would technically approve it for the council because Segro wants it, because Segro largest, I don't know, Segro, this huge property kind of management company, right?
Yeah, rent's paid and done.
Yeah, even they can do it, right? So we're thinking like, where's this going? So you end up spending thousands of pounds going down in the rabbit hole, knowing thinking it's gonna work. Obviously, I need to get rejected. But it is like that. Like the 350 units I looked at before, it was unbelievable in terms of, say it come with 3 spaces, and they're like, well, you said you want 4 spaces at one time. I'm like, so 4's too many? Like, it's one car parking space. Like, what's the issue? Do you know what I mean? It's just the really stupid stuff. Because for them, like, at the end, you got to appreciate, for them, D2 is like it's a 12 to 16 week like change of license. But someone can move in there who's like a storage warehouse, move in there within 2 days. They don't need license change. So they're thinking to themselves, they're losing 3 months of rent. They can get something right now. But we're saying to them, it's been sitting here for 6 months, completely free.
Yeah.
So what are the chances of someone going to move in the next 2 days?
Yeah. So you've got this place in Windsor now then. How did you start pre-selling it? Because that would be a lot of questions that people have, especially people maybe who don't have an audience currently. Like you said, you were out of the game for a little bit, and now you're coming back into it. Yeah, you had a couple of people ask you about if you were setting up and you got this unit, but how were you pre-selling it? How were you getting interest and getting people actually bought into what you had coming?
So there wasn't much around Windsor, to be fair, in terms of group training. Like for a large facility, 3,000 square feet, it's quite a bolder statement, right? You've been out of the game for like 6 years or 5 years. So 3,000 square feet is not cheap either, especially on Windsor. So what I'd done basically was, like, again, love spreadsheets, create a spreadsheet of like my top 50 to 100 people that I had in the old studio that I knew potentially would want to come back. Although I hadn't spoken to them, some of them since 2015, 2014, perhaps when they left. I hope they had the still number. So I've done something really stupid, actually. Let's go back a little bit. When the studio closed in 2016, I was so angry, I deleted all my contacts, basically, and all my list. So I had a list on my emails of about 10 to 12,000, collected over the last like 3 or 4 years having that studio. And I deleted everything of Active Campaign. I was just so angry with everything that's gone on, like not getting a new lease, obviously CrossFit saying you can't have a D2. I was like, well, screw this. I'm just going to click cancel. So that was something I would definitely not recommend doing, right? Save your list, keep it. But, there's a few people on Facebook, obviously some people have dropped onto the email list since. So I had like 50 to 100 people that I was like, like the hot 100 list, like who can you contact? So I kind of whether it's a Facebook message, whether it's a text message, because I've been keeping in contact since, or an email if I still had the email address. Everyone has said, look, hey, I know it's been a number of years, but thinking of opening up a studio within Windsor. I know it's not far from where you want to be. Very similar to previous times. I want to bring that family and community, because a lot of people what we had before, like most people in here, like have that real kind of connection with their tribe, right? With their squad as such. So I kind of relayed that a little bit, or pushed that a little bit with COVID coming around, like obviously, and people kind of like being felt neglected, etc. I kind of pushed that kind of narrative a little bit more, saying, like, hey, let's get back together, let's work together, let's build a new fitness. Obviously, it's been 2 years, and maybe out of those 100, maybe 40, we basically got 40 people paying a year up front, basically. So I said, look, the membership's going to be this, but if you wanted to sign up for a year, I'll do it for £750, a one-off payment for the year, rather than it being £149 a month. So for them, it's a huge discount, right? £1,800 to £750. So we had like 40 people literally purchase that. I think it's like ended up being like 37, 38 people. So that kind of gave us the deposit, gave us buy-in for the studio, sorting out a few bits and bobs. So the deposit on the studio for that size was 20 grand. And then the equipment was like £40,000, but I put like £5,000 deposit down on that. And then there was like £5,000 to £10,000 worth of stuff to do in the studio itself, like obviously flooring, lighting, that kind of stuff. It was just a shell, because it was like a newly kind of converted unit, basically from one massive unit. It was kind of put into 4 different units, basically.
Yeah.
So it was just an absolute shell. So we ended up spending like £5,000 putting the electrics in and the flooring and reception area, like water, bits and bobs like that. And that's literally how we started. It was just a phone call, a WhatsApp message, or a Facebook message saying, look, hey, where do you stand? Like, do you want to be part of something going forward? And that was literally it. And then it was a case of them saying, yes, that's amazing, to then suddenly going, awesome. Do you know anyone else that would want to jump on the bandwagon? If you do, I'll knock another £50 off if they wanted to sign up at the same rate. And then once you have like 20, 30 people, like put that down, you think, okay, this could be something, right? This looks like it could be something that I guess a lot of people want. From that, I then started doing Facebook adverts to like the local community, basically. So around our area, long walk, you've got the Windsor Castle, right? So it's just basically being in front of Windsor Castle on the long walk, which is a really kind of well-known path to Windsor Castle, where I stood in front of, and it just made people stop on their Facebook. So we probably ended up spending maybe like £1,000 on that, and yeah, it was £149 for 30 days, basically, is what people paid. So those had signed up for the year. Then after we had that deposit and that money that we put towards the studio, we then started taking like 30-day kind of deposits, basically. £149, and we got quite a few on that. So yeah, now basically we're at like 90 something members basically right now. So yeah, after that 30 days, we then kind of convert them to either pay month to month or 3 6-month contracts.
Yeah.
And some people off those first 8 days, we gave them a deal and said, look, do you want to pay up front? Again, the first like 3 or 4 months we were there, they said to people, look, do you want to pay up front for the year after 30 days at £1,000? They're like, yeah, sweet, I'll do that for the year. And then we had obviously a few people do that, not many, but a few people do that. Again, that just put like cash in our pocket basically to spend towards Facebook advertising again. And that's kind of generally how it snowballed. It was just chatting to people and seeing where they're at. Some people literally, I was on Facebook Messenger, and the last time I spoke to them was November 2015. And then I'm obviously contacting them in May 2021. So it's kind of weird. I felt bad, obviously not chatting to them for so long, but still there's people like, yeah, I'll pay £750 because they knew what it was like back in the day. So yeah, it was crazy. Like it gave you huge confidence, I guess. And belief that it could work, right? Because it's been that amount of time and they're willing to put £750 down.
No, some great ideas there, especially like the initial cash injection. Did you have a set number of people you wanted to get signed up for the year of interest, so you knew, you know what, this could work?
Yeah, 20 people. I was like, if I could get 20 people, considering I haven't spoken to that many people in the past, like 6-7 years or whatever it may be, I was like, if I can get 20 people, then it will work, right? And I'll trust myself. I'll work hard enough to get the other whatever amount of people in. We have a space of 220 people basically in the studio in Windsor. So we're at 100 now. So We've been open for like 7 months. We opened up basically like June the 1st kind of thing. So yeah, I was like, look, if I can get 20 people, I know I can get another 200, if that makes sense, like going forward. But it ended up doing a little bit more now, which is anything was a bonus. I had obviously cash behind me, but I didn't want to use my own cash. I wanted to use obviously stuff that was coming at the start.
Yeah. So is there a certain point where you thought, you know what, I can't be taking too much upfront cash because that will kind of mess up my money management, kind of your
Yeah,
regular
about 6 weeks ago. Yeah. So yeah, because everyone at the end of the 30 days, everyone said, "Oh, I like it. 149 is expensive. What can you do for me for a year?" And I was like, "Well, it's like £1,800 now for the year kind of thing, or whatever we paid. But 149 is times 12. That's the yearly rate, right?" So we said, "Look, if you want to do it and take like 25% off, like let's do that." Which quite a lot of people did. Yeah, 100%. If I went back, I wouldn't push that so much. If you know what I mean. Yeah, because I'd say like we probably got, I'd say not many, but like probably a fair amount of paid up front for the year. Although it helps, but at the same time, like May time and June time, it's not that far away anyway. So we know like going forward next year, like this time, May time and June time, if we've done it right, we probably have like another £40,000 coming in. If you know what I mean, if they pay up front for the year again. I said to them, if you keep paying year to year, like it will never increase. But if you stop paying month to month, then it'll go back to normal rate.
Yeah.
As like a kind of thank you, right? So yeah, I'd imagine we have that kind of amount coming in May time and June time, which again helps as well going forward. So there's a little bit to it, right? As you say, but you still got to think maybe if you do well enough, you've still got that money coming in regardless. It hasn't just completely gone.
Cool. Okay, so we've searched, we've found, we've located the unit, we've got all the contracts signed, we've found enough people to show interest to actually want to pay for it. You've bought all the equipment and stuff. So let's focus away from generating leads and making the sales. What other things do people really need when it comes to actually opening a studio then?
Staff, 100%. You need staff, right? If it's big enough. Staff, like we looked at Indeed, we had 2 really good coaches to start with. I think one wasn't really the right fit going forward, so they left like a little while. They left maybe 2 months ago now. Because like when you run a studio at the start, it's hard to really kind of get it. If people haven't or don't know your identity, like coaches don't know your identity, it's very hard to like at the very start, especially if you're not there all the time, right? Because don't forget, I was in Northwood like 30 hours a week doing one-to-one sessions here, so I was trying to manage both. And that's kind of where like the systems come into play as well. So writing things down, that we have like an onboarding process, writing things down in terms of like how you want sessions to run, how you want people to be interacted with, the kind of ethos of the studio. I think it's important. Like, I think what helped at the very start was having members who had been in the previous studio coming back in, because they kind of, speaking to them, it was more a case of, look, coaches are brand new to UFIT and where we're at right now. Is there a way that you can kind of help them understand like the ethos and how we're meant to be as coaches? I know we'd obviously changed since then, but they understood the family, they understood the concept of UFIT as such. So they helped our kind of coaches settle. So the systems behind it, basically, obviously how sessions are run, the timings of sessions, the types of sessions, how you coach them, the types of even little details like the names of the workouts and the names of the exercises and the coaching cues of each one. Because like what one coach says or another coach says, you don't want it to be completely different. Someone might call it thrust up, someone might call it a mountain climber, someone might call it whatever it may be. So we want a kind of congruency sorry, between them all. And those kind of common systems, right? So understanding and just writing things down. Like I'm very detailed in terms of systems. Like I have everything laid out because I knew that I wasn't going to be that as much. So I wanted every eventuality like to be laid out. So I use like Notion, which is like a free app, and that ended up being like the kind of playbook for us, basically, in terms of regressions. On top of that, like we had even before the leads, like we had like the sisters basically go in to do the lease for us. I made a previous mistake in the other unit, so I went to in the 2013 to 2016 unit. I went to court over it basically because we had a lot of leaks and floods and damages within that previous unit, and the lease was in my name. It wasn't in company name, and I don't know if you've been in that situation before, but it's an absolute nightmare if it's in your name because everything falls on your head. It does with it being in a limited company, but less so. So at the end of in 2016 we had a flood about 2 days before the dilapidations kind of came through, and so the surveyor came around and said, like, everything's wrecked, you owe us £45,000 to replace it. And we're like, well, hold on a second, it's flood damages from the unit ceiling, right, from the roof that you're liable for. And so ended up being like so from 2016 to 2018, I was in this court battle with the landlords basically for about £40,000 worth of like damages. So I'm like, I'm not paying it, kind of thing. It's hassle, etc. And so we end up going to court March 2018, and I walked away with a £900 basically bill to pay for some part of painting. So I kind of walked away very lucky that I only had to pay £900, not £40,000. So yeah, putting the lease in your name, having solicitors do it for you rather than doing it yourself, like getting everything when you're doing the lease, like getting like checks in like water and land checks, stuff like that, making sure that's all legit and dusted off. There's no kind of just so when you get into the unit, there's no unforeseen circumstances that may arise. From that, having systems in place, getting the coaches in place is going to be really important. Obviously, understanding the structure of the workouts and the timings of the workouts, getting the coaches comfortable within that environment and how they interact with members is really important. There's so much you need to do, right? I don't think people realize. I think it's a very kind of ego-driven kind of mindset, right? Having a facility just makes people feel good, right? And you say, "Oh, I've got 3,000 square feet," and GMOs, when they chat to each other, like they're always like, "Oh, my facility is 5,000. Oh, it's 3,000. Oh, it's 2,000 square feet." I think everyone. I don't know. I might be wrong here, but it seems like a lot of people like enjoy that aspect of it, saying how big their studio is and that kind of stuff. Whereas like people forget little things. If a coach is ill on a Tuesday morning, right, 6 a.m. and everything's done, and they message you at 5 a.m. in the morning, you think, "Oh, I've got 4 sessions back to back," right? Like, what's going to happen now? Or there's those little stuff that people forget, like even just small details of like a toilet and like make sure it's like legit and tidy, and there's like toilet roll, there's cleaning products there, ordering that kind of stuff, understanding where you're getting it from. Yeah, it's not just a case of like you open up a studio, people come to sessions and kind of leave, as you know, right? There's so much more to it behind that.
You're making opening the studio super attractive here, Sam.
Yeah, I know. I think, hold on, why did it? Yeah, but obviously, like this space in Northwood, right? I guess that the reason why I wanted the space is because there's, as you know, right, there's a certain feel, there's a certain appreciation for having a studio, having people in it. There's that it's really hard to find elsewhere. Like when you come in 6 a.m. in the morning, wherever it may be, 7 p.m. in the evening, and having like 10 to 12 people in the workout, pushing it through, that kind of atmosphere, that kind of environment is so stimulating as a coach, and you just never get tired of doing it. You never get tired. Regardless if you're doing like 10 to 15 sessions a day, it just makes you feel good. I don't know, it just kind of, it just fuels you. It fuels me anyway. So this case, 1-to-1 wins in Northwood right now is absolutely fine, right? But they're just a bit behind it. I'm thinking, hey, I could do more here. Do you know what I mean? I could do more. And knowing of how that previous studio felt, I always wanted to go back and open another studio and make it a little bit better than then. I used to joke literally with my fiance, I used to walk past places on the high street or wherever, and I'd be like, that'd be a good place for a studio, wouldn't it? I'd be like, and I'd be walking on the high street and I'd see that place and I'd be like, do you know what? You could do that there, you could do that, you could do that, you could bring this in, you could do that. And Helen was just like, Sam, shut up. Like, literally, move on with it. So it took 6 years to kind of get that space back again. And she's probably thinking, like, what the hell? But yeah, even like little things like signage, obviously, having a reception, taking payments, little things like that, having a system behind it. So we use Go Team Up. I don't know if you use something similar. Going back to what you need in the studio. But yeah, there's a lot of work to be done, right? I think I've created like a checklist, right, of everything that needs to be done for it. And it's like literally like 250 things long. It's just like unbelievable.
Yeah. Moving forwards, then, they found the unit, they found their base of clients, they've got this massive 250 item tick list ticked off. What is the next step moving forward then to really developing and getting the studio to, I don't know, 80-90% capacity and making sure it's turning over a profit, the main thing?
Yeah, customer experience end of the day. I think it's important to appreciate the people that are in front of you. I think a lot of times we shoot for the people that we need more members, and we'll constantly just disregard those in front of us, and we'll look for those over there. And we're like, oh, we need you, like come in. Whereas like I think if we really treat the clients that we have and the members that we have really well, and just treat them as people, treat them as friends, as family, that goes a long way. Because at the end of the day, like if you've got 5 people coming in but 5 people leaving, you're never going to grow. But if you've got those people staying in there, and maybe your retention rate is 95, 98%, you know you got a pretty good model there, right? And then you can kind of add a few more people here and there. We have a limit of amount of people that we kind of bring in a month because we don't want to disrupt the harmony of the kind of the group, right? And if we've got 25 people coming in a month, it's like super difficult because you've got, say we have like a process for each member that comes aboard, send them welcome cards, personalized nutrition guides, phone calls, etc. So there's a lot to do for each member. It's not just a case of like you come in, forget about you, next person. I think that's where I think perhaps
Sam, you can't say this because all those marketing gurus that say I can fill your gym with 90 clients in the next 2 weeks, they're going to be very disappointed that you're saying this. Yeah.
I know it's Facebook and Instagram all the time on my Instagram feed is just constantly like, oh, let's grow your gym, 90 new members in 30 days. I'm like, that's fine, but you'll have 90 new members every 30 days thereafter, right? You'll need them all again because
on onboarding, it's hard. Here we say 5 a week. As long as we can take 5 a week on and we don't lose 5 a week, we're happy because we're always moving forward. But onboarding, like you say, 5 a week, that's maybe 20 or 20 leads that you've got to chase down to then get booked in, to then signed up, which is the 5. Then you've got the welcome packs that we give them, then their initial onboarding sessions, then their text message every single week, then the client check-in and all this. You know what I mean?
There's way too much. Yeah, it's not just someone coming on board, right? So I think, yeah, as you say, having that sounds like you've got a great system there, right? And I think like perhaps when you're to the point of having like have that profit, etc., you can understand like, okay, look, I've got those people, I've got these people coming in, which is maybe like 5 or 20 a month, whatever it may be, and I'm keeping these people. Once you have that profit, I think you can start to experiment and add like maybe a t-shirt or welcome back to the kind of like when they come on board, right? But maybe at the very start, it's a bit difficult because your margins aren't so great, right?
Yeah.
Growing. So yeah, I know people like I get emails, right? And it's like, this person's added 80 new members in 30 days. I'm like, that's fine. But like, are those 80 people really going to get seen, been given attention, feel special? Like we recently laid out like, so we have like an end of year review, right, for our members. So maybe like half of them filled out, like 48 people, I think, filled out. And it was the question was like, do you feel the value part? Do you feel the value part of you fit? Like, yes or no? Like, if not, why not? But, and there's like a lot of questions that we had based off that kind of stuff, right? Their experience, how they felt. Did they feel like they were coached? Did they feel like we actually knew them as a person? And I think out of the 48, only one person said like, not sure, but they'd only been there for like the first 2 weeks. So I'm guessing that's why, right?
But then that's an indication, maybe like that initial 2-week period, the onboarding. Most people think like the onboarding is just that first or second session, but I don't know. Like our programs, it's 6 weeks, then into monthly. So our onboarding process is 6 weeks long. We've got 6 weeks to convince them to stay. So when someone's saying, "Yeah, I can get you 80 new clients this month," fantastic, great, wonderful. But then if not even like 10% of those people stay on, then you need to go and buy it. You need to find another 80 clients again to try and replace
you're constantly chasing
71 people you just lost.
Yeah, you're constantly chasing, right? You're constantly chasing. I think like stepping away from that, because I'd say that in the mindset at the very start, right, I was like, I need to get new members. And I was like, well, hold on a second, like, let's slow down a little bit. Like, we didn't really lose many members, to be fair, at the very start. COVID, we had a few people pause like over December just because of COVID issues and not sure if they like felt safe, etc., which is totally fine. We have no issue with that. But our retention rate is pretty strong on a month-to-month basis, just because we want to get to know them. Like, we just know them as a person, right? We have an onboarding process. We have like a chat at the very start, welcome cards, gifts, etc. Like a pre-season, the very first workout they kind of come to, and then we kind of chat and engage them. So ours is 30 days long, not 6 weeks, right? But it takes time. Like, also as well, we have like 4 or 5 coaches, right? And for that person, like, to go into a workout with, say, Joel, and then go have a workout with Stephen, I want the same experience. Like, I want Stephen to understand if he's not doing the first workout, I want Joel to explain like how Karen's doing in her like how's our squat pattern? How's our hinge pattern? How's our whatever it may be? So Stephen comes in and he's like, hey, Karen, do you know what? Like, I know Joel mentioned we got this today instead of that. Like, it's really going to help you X, Y, and Z moving forward. Little things like that make a big difference. And that takes like time behind the scenes. It's not just a case of you jumping into a workout and then Stephen going, oh, sorry, I haven't met you before. What's your name? Like, it doesn't sound great, right? And it doesn't, for me, it doesn't sit very well. So yeah, it's like 1 hour person, like face to face, is like 2 hours behind the scenes, right? Trying to sort some stuff.
We have our staff meeting every Monday, and unfortunately, even though I don't really do much with Econine Fitness, I sat here today and they went through almost every single client on the sheet, and they all like, oh, so how's this person? Have you seen this person? How are we getting on? And it's what I mean. The clients don't see this stuff. Other fit pros don't see this stuff, but this is the stuff which, like, we've been open almost 4 years now. And we've had people literally stay with us the whole 4 years, all through lockdown, paid every single month because of this extra work outside of the sessions that you do to make sure they just want to stay. Cool. Okay, so carry on, sorry.
No, sorry, just quickly. I think that helped, right? I think we've done that really well in the previous studio. Well, it kind of shows we did, because those people came back and it'd been like 5, 6 years. They wanted to carry on, right? I think that's really like, that hard work back then, like, definitely paid dividends now.
Because there's one thing we have in our core values. We've got is it 5 or 6 core values we have, and one of the things is to make sure that the session here is as much of the best part of their hour of the day than any other period they have during the day. And that's like you say, knowing your clients inside out. Our clients are over 30s, they're busy, they work full time, they've got kids, they probably hate their job, they probably have arguments at home, everything. So we want to make sure that the 45 minutes to an hour here they have is the best 45 minutes an hour of their day.
The best 4%, right? Like, if it's an hour, it's 4% in a day, right? Like, what can you do to make it the best 4%? Like, little thing is, like, understanding and knowing, like, unfortunately, one of our members, their dog died on Christmas Eve or day before Christmas Eve. They still came to work out like Christmas Eve in the morning. But let's send them like a card, whatever it may be, or a bunch of guys saying, hey, sorry for that. Like, little things like that, like, it just doesn't happen. Even members that have left in the past, we send them a card and that say, hey, look, thanks a lot for like coming. Really appreciate your time with us. Hopefully we're giving you X, Y, Z in the future and giving you like a boost going forward, if you know what I mean. Just saying you appreciate them, right? And you actually know them as a person goes a long way. I think we had like in the first like 3 months of like every 3 months, we had like a little bit of a review, a feedback on what we're doing as a team and that. And some clients came across from like another leisure facility nearby, and they've always put in requests. It's a little bit different. It's a capital gym, etc. Like, it's not a PT studio as such, but they said they've been there for like 9 years, and then they've always asked for like certain things. It's never been done. And then we had the feedback come in, and within I think the first 3 months, and we had like a few things that, hey, can you buy more of this, or can we add this into it? And we kind of implemented 3 things, and everyone was like, "What? You asked us, and you actually done it?" Like, okay, I didn't know that was a thing, right? We're not used to that happening. We're used to asking, and it just not going anywhere.
I love those ones, because we usually get stupid ones like, oh, can we have a jacuzzi? It's like, there's no way we can put a jacuzzi in here. As much as I'd love to get one, we just can't fit a jacuzzi in.
You can't please everyone.
Okay, cool. So to finish off, have you got any final tips or anything for people looking to open, or people to progress, or people to really move on with their current studios and stuff that you can think of?
I think like understand who you are and who you want to coach, understand your niche. I think sometimes we try and attract everyone into them, and we try and diversify what we do and like dilute almost what we do to fit everyone. Like, definitely don't do that. I don't think, like, understanding who your market is and your niches, and really kind of working towards them would be the most beneficial thing, right? Because you get known for that. If you're fat loss, sports performance, and injury rehab, and this and that, whatever, you just end up doing everything but not doing it well. Listening to your core values, as you mentioned earlier, right? Like, really understanding, are we actually driving through with our core values and our mission? Like, are we actually on path with things that we want to say, right? And the things that we want to do, as much as we want our clients to do, are we showing it ourselves? Because clients listen to you and they respond to you, and they'll see what you do on a day-to-day basis, and they'll form an opinion on that. So definitely kind of respecting your own core values, making sure that your team follow through with them is important. And just really focus on your clients, like, and just understand them, get to know them, see if you can find ways to enhance the experience, ask some questions, right, and get the answers, and actually act on them as well, rather than just taking on board, actually act on it as well, would be important. But I think as well, just be patient. I think as well, like if you want a studio or whatever it may be, like just be patient. Like I looked at so many, like I said, 350 units, and there's so many I could have gone for, and obviously it didn't ever work out in the end. But it took like 6 years to get one, right? And it took me 350 different times to get one. Like, so it takes a long time. It doesn't just happen like the first like 1 or 2 months or 3 months. Definitely just slow down, be patient, understand what you want to do, and just reach out to people. Like, have a conversation and be like, hey, is this something you want to be part of? If you are looking to open up a studio, talk to your current members, see how far it is from their own home, if you know what I mean. Like, I done a Google map, like, remember putting all the addresses of where everyone was I was chatting to, and was like, oh, how far away is this studio from there? Ended up being like less than 5 miles away. And I was like, this is a pretty good location then. So yeah, there's I don't know, I'm probably rambling out, but there's a lot to it, right? Then that you could do. So yeah, you just have to, I guess, work hard, be prepared for long hours, be prepared to go over the top for your members. And like you've been there for 4 years, right? You understand it didn't happen the first 3 months, but it happened on like year 3, year 4.
I can give you a perfect example. We were in Southampton and we couldn't find a unit. And then we were looking on UKPT's Facebook group one day, and someone said they were giving up their unit in Cardiff. So drove up to Cardiff 2 hours to get the unit. Yeah. So, you know what I mean, this is what it kind of takes sometimes to find the unit. Yeah. You got 6 shares for Sam, me traveling 2 hours to literally relocate to move DK9 to get the studio. It's not always as straightforward. But Sam, I appreciate you coming on today. Lots of information.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, where do I start now? Yeah, that would you say 250-point list of things that you needed to have and everything. So yeah, definitely a lot of things to cover. So for anybody that was or is watching this now or in the future type of thing, if they wanted to kind of just discover some of those points that you did mention, where could people reach out and have a chat with you?
Yeah, good question. So I have so you can actually see my website. It's just ufitwindsor.co.uk. So it's UFIT Windsor.co.uk. That's like the place in Windsor. You can kind of see the studio and look at what we do there. But the best place to probably contact me is info@sambeagle, just my name, sambeagle.co.uk. I have my own personal website for this place in Norfolk, which is just sambeagle.co.uk. So probably best to email me, like I said, info@sambeagle.co.uk.
Inbox.
Yeah, well, it'd be cool. Like, I had a few members, a few PTs reach out to the place in Windsor. I just wanted to know how to get started. So yeah, always open. It's nice, right? Because I've been in that situation before, trying to find a unit, looking to start, etc. I wish I had someone or something to actually have a chat to, bounce ideas off. So I know it's a difficult space to be in.
No worries, Sam. I appreciate your time today. Thanks for coming on, and hopefully we'll get you on maybe in a year's time and see how far you've progressed.
Yeah, please do, man. Thanks a lot, bud.
Cheers, Sam. Speak to you later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Cheers,
So that was Sam Beagle giving us an insight into what it was like to run his very own fitness business and how long it's really taken him to find a studio. So if things are not going as expected or things are not moving as fast as you really want them to be, do learn from some of the stuff that Sam was talking about. Do learn from some of the stuff I mentioned in that episode too. It's not always super quick and easy. There is times where you do have to be changing, working and pushing forwards to make sure that you're moving at the pace that you want to go at. I'm going to leave it there for today. Tomorrow I've got 5 tips coming your way, but for now I'll speak to you all tomorrow. Cheers.